Hello everybody, this is Dana with the Freedom Please channel and essenceofme.com. I'm coming to you all today because I would like to do a pattern review. Yes, a pattern review. And so, if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about this, well then stick around. I am going to tell you a little bit about the pattern. It is not my own. I will also just share with you some of the pros and the cons that I thought about the pattern, and I will also share details about where you can find the pattern and whether I would do this pattern again. If you are interested in hearing my thoughts or learning more, then stick around. Okay, my name is Dana with the Freedom Please channel and essenceofme.com. Today is going to be my first time, I think, doing something like this, which is a pattern review. I was interested in doing it because number one, this pattern inspired me to do it, and I really enjoyed making this piece. Another reason that I wanted to do it is because I feel like from some of my other videos, since I do show you my yarn hauls and I show you when my projects are done, and I tend to show you from time to time what I'm working on at that given moment. I thought doing some of these pattern reviews or just bringing some in between projects once they're done with my feedback would be helpful, because this is one of the ones that you can reference if you're looking for something to make with all the yarn that we love to buy. So, let's go ahead and jump right on in. The name of this pattern is Foolproof, and I'm going to bring it up because the pattern is available on Ravelry. I'll tell you about the pattern. It is Foolproof. It is by Louis Zass-Bangh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it is a knitted pattern. One of the things that drew me to this pattern is not just the aesthetic of the look of it, because I'm falling in love with cowls. They're coming second to my love of shawls. And so it has been so much fun to make, but it's the aesthetic of it. But also it was the description, and I'm going to read the description to you. It says, it's wait, is this it? Oh, yes. Okay, I'm going to read what's here. I think the actual pattern is a little bit different, but I'm going to read it anyway. It's an intriguing construction, a real mystery. How about a cowl with no casting on and no binding off? It's made in rows, but ends up all in one place. In one piece, excuse me. There's no knitting in the round, no sewing, no grafting, no provisional cast on, no picking up stitches. Promise. You can make it to your own custom size in your own choice of yarn without having to make a tension square. No kidding. No purling, no knitting. Oh, wait, just joking. There is knitting. It's garter stitch with funky stripes and some easy intermediate increasing and decreasing. And it says options. This is a flexible pattern. You can go for the free spirit option to knit from any yarn, but I know not every knitter wants to decide everything, right? So there is a fully designed inspirational stripe option in 2 sizes. You just follow the clues with the suggested yarn. And so it says more. I will put the link to Ravelry to the pattern on Ravelry in the description bar. But I loved that. I mean, think about it. No casting on, no binding off, no purling. I was honestly, because she said joking, I was like, maybe this woman is really kidding. And it was enough for me to press purchase. So let's talk about the purchase. At the time of this recording, which is May 1st, 2014, the pattern is $6.07 in the US because it is presented in pounds. She does also have an option to buy an ebook which has 2 patterns, which is what I did. When you do the two, it only went up, I think, another dollar or so, or maybe $2, but it wasn't much to where I just went ahead and purchased both patterns, even though I was purchasing it initially for that one pattern. During April, they did have a a knit along to support this pattern, which was a repeat from the knit along from last year. But that's going to actually get into one of my pros for this pattern. Um, as of the date of this recording, there are 379 projects, and the yarn ideas for using this pattern are endless. I would say a good 20 or so, maybe 30 options that people have used up to date using this pattern. And so the yarn that I selected, I'm going to show in some footage after this review. But I used some Knit Picks palette. I did choose 4 different colors, and you will see that in the pictures as well. And the Knit Picks palette, I believe, is fingering weight. I'm thinking about that for a second. I believe it's fingering weight. And I would show you, but the project's already done and it's already out to the recipient. And I actually sent the remaining yarn left over. So I sent everything to her in case she wanted to make some accessories to match or to go along with the piece that I made her. And so it worked up really beautifully. I am going to also share with you my project page. And I'm going to tell you what I chose to do. I used the Knit Picks, and I used, I have 4 skeins, but I'm telling you the truth, I did not use not even half. Because I had 4, I think I used less than half of what I actually had. And so, and I did a very small one. I wanted to try it out, and it was more so like a short cowl, not a long one, okay? And I used a size 2 knitting needle. Yes, 2. And so it made it seem like it went on forever. But the pattern was true to its word. There was no cast on. Your slip stitch was your beginning stitch. There was no binding off. There was 1 stitch on my needle when it was time to finish off. There was no grafting. Everything that I read in that little cleverly written description was true. What I would add to that if you decide to make this pattern is, number 1, I would definitely suggest, I knitted this on round needles, and so I would suggest if you do it on round needles as well, maybe you would have 2 of the same or similar size close in proximity, because you would need to put some stitches on a holder at a future date. So if you have it on a round needle or circular needle, which is the same size, it actually makes it a whole lot easier. I figured that out later. The other thing is there are a few rows where you're doing a setup, but once you're in pattern, it is a breeze and it's easy to remember. And so there's not a lot of memory that's needed. It's the increases were very straightforward, as well as the decreases were very straightforward. I will say a con to me was that the pattern was wordy, and I'm saying it's a con, but it wasn't a bad thing because the construction is different. I've never done anything like that, this pattern, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this review. It's very, very unique. And of course, I haven't knitted every single pattern in the universe, but this is a very unique construction. And so that unique construction meant that she had to explain it not only in your stitch directions, but also in words. So it is some reading. One of the things that they said in the group was just follow the directions. Don't overthink it. Read it, do what it says. And if you do that, it will work just fine, even though you may be like, what is this? Like trying to, I guess, think ahead of the pattern. And I believe doing it the next time will be easier and faster than the first time. Another pro of this is that the forum was awesome. And I'm going to also insert a picture here of the crochet along that was going on at the time. I don't believe it's going on now because it ends on May 4th. However, you can go through that thread and see color combinations, people's the choices of colors that they use, the choices of yarn that they use, why they chose to use it, especially for those knitters that it did the knit along the first time and did it again, because they were given some really good tips as to why they chose a particular yarn, why they chose a particular needle size, and so on. And so to add to that, I would say definitely, even if the knit along is not going on, you can subscribe to the board, the forum, or the group is what they call it on Ravelry, the group, and go through as you're working the pattern. Another pro is that the moderator of the group is very responsive, but people in that group were so helpful. I met, which is another reason why I love Ravelry. I mean, I just do. I met a woman that was so helpful to me because I was doing this pattern in a time crunch. And at one time I was kind of freaking out because I was like, what's going on here? And we were emailing back and forth, and she was so helpful. And it helped that I knit at night and she was in Australia. So it was like perfect timing for me to email, for us to email back and forth. So that was extremely helpful. But that's a testament to the community that's a part of the board that follows this particular author. So that was great as well. Now, I think the only con that I had was the wordiness. Another great thing about the pattern is if you don't know what size you want to do or how much yarn, because this can be scaled short, long, thick, thin, all in the same pattern. This is like the perfect, perfect gift pattern because you will not have to concern yourself with buying different patterns for different sizes. And I mean, it's just perfect because it scales. And again, with the wordiness, which was good, she tells you at which point, okay, at this point is when you are establishing the width, and this is the point when you're establishing the length, and so on. She even puts little her, I don't want to say quirkiness, her humor carried from the description into the pattern, because even as you're going along and you're looking at it and you're thinking, this doesn't look like it's going to be a cowl, like this is not going to work out, she would have a little joke in the pattern like, yes, I promise this is going to be a cowl, keep knitting kind of thing. So that was, I mean, it felt like you were getting to know the author while also working on a great project, which is awesome. For me, it was a fairly quick knit, but again, that's because I did not go very far. But it would be also a great pattern if you want to pick up, put down, or do it in between projects, because once you get in pattern, it really just rolls. And then it's set up by clues because it was originally done as a knit along, but basically you go from, it's 4 clues, and so as you progress through the clues, you know what to do. I hope that makes sense. So basically, for example, clue 2 goes on for a while, so that makes it very portable. And then you get to clue 3, and that goes on for a while, and so on. For me, it was not a portable project. It was not. I did at one point go to the knit shop, and I was working on it, and I forgot the other colors. So, I mean, I did have small enough skeins that I had spun up into cakes that I would have been able to with my project bag. But if you don't want to carry around 3 or 4 skeins because you change colors frequently, then you may want to do it just at a stationary place by the TV. I mean, it's perfect TV knitting. Like, you don't, the rows where you need to focus and pay attention, the author notes them and she mentions it. Again, the wordiness is not necessary. It was somewhat of a con because it just was for me, but in the end I understand why, so it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not a ding against the pattern. Like, I would totally do it again. It just worked out well. Would I do this pattern again? Absolutely. I've already purchased yarn to do it again, and I cannot wait. And I would love to do it in different sizes and kind of give myself some space to be able to do that. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you some progress shots along the way from the beginning to the end. I'm also going to show you just a little bit of footage that I had when I received the yarn, and then how the yarn looked once I took it from the little, I guess you still could call it a skein, to spinning, winding it up into a cake, and then moving on into the pictures of the actual piece as it progressed. If there's any questions, of course, you can ask me below. I can't think of anything else. I loved the pattern. I'm gonna close with what I believe I would do differently the next time around. And you may see different people saying different things in the board and forum, which is good. But for me, I wanted to kind of make mention of this because it would have been helpful for me to know this on the beginning side. Number one, I again would have had maybe 2 circular needles for the same size, because that just would have been easier when it was time to transfer stitches. I would have done it with a larger size needle because I was pressed for time. However, it just turned out beautifully. So I say that on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm just glad. I love the way that it turned out. So I guess I don't know, but I maybe would have just done a little bit bigger needle size, because that would have caused the project to move along a little bit faster. What else? This pattern, which should have said it earlier, but I read it in the description, can be done with any type of yarn. So I'm sure that if you're a person where you don't want to deal with some little fingering weight yarn, I don't know if it's fingering or lace, I can't recall right now, but you could do it with bulky, you could do it with worsted, you could do it with any brand. You can do it and work it up really quick with some Red Heart or some Burnett, or even, I think it would even be really nice with some Simply Soft, some Karen Simply Soft, because that light little sheen, oh, I think that would be great. Of course, I liked it with the palette. I did it with solids because it is done with rose. I would love to give it a try with one of my color selections being a variegated. And, oh, I almost forgot. I'm so glad I did the summary. One of the things that I would have liked to know on the front end is keeping in mind about all of those ends. Okay, you are changing colors, and I had 4 colors, and so carrying up the side would have really not been an option because I had 4 colors. So what I did is I used that double knot technique that I showed you in my changing yarn video. And what I will do is I will place the link somewhere in the video. If you're watching this video on either your tablet or your phone, I will have it in the description box. And what I did, and this is a tip, what I did is the first time that I changed the color, I guesstimated the length and I measured it with my loose measuring tape, and then I did the knot technique, and then I knitted it to the end. And once I did that, it was a little bit shy of the edge. I'm sorry, that's my computer. Shy of the edge before starting the next row. And so the next time I measured it once again so that I would know about how many inches of yarn I needed in order for the change to take place once I turned to start a new row. Okay, that worked out beautifully. When I got to the end, I had 4 strings to sew in, 4, and I used 4 colors throughout the piece at varying intervals. And if you go to the group, you will see that people stay to the same sequence. Some didn't. I didn't. I wanted one half to be small stripes, one half to be chunky stripes, so that whenever you got to the middle, you would have small and then chunky and vice versa in the back. I just thought that would be really cool, almost like an asymmetric look to it. And a couple of the stripes I actually lined up, so it makes your eyes kind of have to adjust, which I liked that. And so that's how I handled having the ends, because I could not imagine sewing in a million ends at the end. I just couldn't. And so that double knot technique worked out beautifully. And I'm so glad that I did it. And it made it so that all I had was either, was it four? Yes, it was four. I had my tail from my beginning. I had my tail from my end. I had my tail from when I transitioned from clue 2 to clue 3, and I had my tail from the start of clue 4, I believe it was. In those two of those tails, I couldn't get away from not having. Well, all four of them, I couldn't get away from not having. The beginning and the end, I mean, it's given, and those two you actually had to cut and start back up on another end and cut. So all of those tails had to be there. So it worked out perfectly. That is all that I have. If I had to rate this pattern on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being I would never do it again. I can't believe I spent my money on this. No, or I would never do it again, or it's not for me. To 5 being just knocked it out of the park. I would definitely do it again. I would recommend and suggest. I would say a 5. When it comes to the skill level, I don't recall what skill level she said, but I believe that I'm going to go to it and look. I believe a new knitter could. I believe a new knitter could do this. Especially because you don't have pearls, and most people are scared of pearls, and I don't know why. Um, it's all knit stitch. The increases and decreases are the same throughout. So once you, whether it's look on YouTube or pull out your a knitting book to get those increases and understand how to do the increases and the decreases. Once you do that, I think you'll be okay. The and those are base, just standard. I don't want to say basic, just standard increases and decreases. It wasn't nothing like crazy or too inventive. Okay, and so I guess with that said, I wouldn't say like a newbie, but I think it could be a beginner, and I think it is interesting enough that a beginner could do it, but it's interesting enough that an advanced knitter would still have a great time, and I think an intermediate knitter would just have the best of both worlds. So I think it's a pattern appropriate for all types of knitters, or as far as your skill of knowledge of knitting, it's appropriate. And with the yarn, I've already told you, it goes with any yarn, any needle size. So I'm pretty sure you could use whatever you have in your stash, as well as needles that you have in your stash. The only thing that I would add, again, is that you probably want to use circular. I could not imagine, unless you did a very thin one, you trying to do this on straights, but you can. So I would just say a circular needle, and you can get those anywhere, your box store, or your local yarn store, or even online. With all of that said, let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about this pattern review. Have you done the foolproof pattern? If so, what did you think about it? And now, since in the comments we can put links, like I would love for you to put a link to maybe your project page or whatever on Ravelry that you did it on. If you have not, is this your first time hearing of it, and would you consider doing it? So put your comments, questions, or concerns below. Stay tuned, because I'll have a tad bit of footage that I recorded throughout the progress. I also have the pictorials of my progress with the piece, and I look forward to bringing you any future pattern reviews. Are there any patterns that you just love that you think that I would love? Come on. I'm starting to realize my subbies know me so well. So if so, tell me below, and maybe that'll be one that I will bring to you later. So take care, and I will see you all hopefully sooner than later. Enjoy the footage. Goodbye. Okay, so I thought I'd come on really quick for just some quick footage. I showed you all my winder that I got from Nitpicks, and here are some of the cakes. It's hard to see because here, let me get something white. Those are also my needles. I'm about to start a new project. Here we go. There we go. These are the colors that I'm working on for a new project. These are really similar, and I know I'm trying my best not to get them confused. And then this one, if I can keep them from spinning. There we go. So it still fell, and that just didn't help. I don't know how it's going to take me rotating like that. Oh, there it is. There we go. And so yeah, I'm loving it. It's going great.